Hello everyone, welcome back to our Married at First Sight review, episode 10, season 10, I Want You to Want Me. And in this episode, Dr. Pepper was the saving grace that we needed. So for our first couple, we see Katie and Derek. And Katie and Derek's scene is very important in the beginning because they both bond on how they both don't know how to cook. So what do? Invite all the couples to a cooking class. Well, except for Brandon Taylor. But we'll touch on that a little bit later.
So we get to the cooking class, everyone's come together and we meet the instructors and they're learning how to cook a meal. While they're sitting down for the meal, Mindy thinks Mika and Michael feel like they're cold to each other, like they're not connected. Before the cooking class, which we'll touch on later, Mika and Michael did have a blowout. Mindy asks everyone, so what's it like living with each other? I think that was low-key shade because she knows that most everyone would live together except for the couple that's not there. But Zach says, hey, well, we're at where we're at. Derek and Katie say, they're doing pretty good. Austin and Jessica say they're doing pretty good too. So I think Mindy hearing that from the couples makes her feel bad, but she still wants to know, since Zach is there, to let him know that, listen, we need to be living together to continue on the experiment the way it's supposed to go.
Of course, Brandon Taylor's not there. So, of course, the couples are having on their mind, like, oh, where are they at? How are they doing? So, of course, the two people who know are Mika and Michael. But who speaks on it is Mika, not Michael. Because Michael feels like, well, since they're not here, I don't feel like speaking on a relationship is cool. But Mika speaks on it into why Brandon was mad at Taylor. And then Katie was like, I would be mad if my husband did that to me too.
Yeah, but Katie also said she saw the IG post as well. Jessica was also confused how Zach doesn't seem like he's part of the process. She's confused as to why, he's there, he's participating, but he's not fully committed to the relationship with Mindy. And, she just kind of wants him to get that together. So the conversation between Mindy and Zach and Jessica and Austin was a little awkward as well. After the cooking class later that night, Derek plans a date for Katie. And Derek wants to show Katie that he cares by doing the little things for her, because he knows that Katie feels that he may not have love for her after this process is over, and he wants to show her that he really is caring and committed with this process. Katie comes home and from walking the dogs, and she looks around like, oh, are we painting? He's like, yeah, we're having paint and wine. So Katie now feels that he may have stepped it up a little bit, and he's showing her that he cares by doing those little things that she's missing. Derek asks Katie, what's on your mind? Katie says a few days ago, she didn't feel like he was committed to the process. Derek says, he's committed to it, but he may be trying a little bit too hard, but he wants to show her that he cares about her and what she's thinking and feeling.
Well, Katie was more like, I feel like since I gave it up to you within 3 days, you got me. But she said, you got me twisted because you don't have me. And he was like, yeah, I did get pretty much comfortable with you. And so now that's why he wants to take more initiative and try, which I think is very nice and commendable on his part.
The following evening, we see Derek and Katie now play Jenga, and the Jenga has questions on it, and this task came from Dr. Pepper. And one of the questions that Katie asked Derek is, what turns you on? Derek says, well, I like back scratches in the heat of the moment.
Basically, all that I got from this part of the scene was Derek is trying to be more dominant, and Katie likes 50 Shades of Grey.
Well, Derek is not necessarily being dominant. Katie wants a man who is dominant.
He was trying to be more dominant.
Well, I guess, but Katie had expressed that to him. That's what she likes, a more dominant, assertive man.
So next we see Austin and Jessica, and really with their whole scene was basically them just saying how much they're really liking each other, growing their friendship, becoming more in love with each other, baking cookies, and all they had to do with their task from Dr. Pepper was just do like a little spin the wheel thing, and that's pretty much their episode.
When they spun the wheel, they had to do things like, it says like whisper in each other's ear. One was like give a lap dance. But since they already have that connection, they really didn't need that. That just helped to enhance what they were already doing and what they already know and feel within each other.
So for our next couple, Mindy and Zach, You know, last episode and review that we did, I was really happy that Zach finally gave Mindy what she wanted. Just me and you time, you know?
Yep.
But then, you know what she said? At midnight, he done went home like Cinderella. I was so disappointed. I thought we was actually moving somewhere, but...
I was too.
But then we see him come back to his house in the morning because Dr. Pepper is arriving.
So Dr. Pepper arrives and wants to get to the bottom of what's going on with Mindy and Zach. She's worried for the both of them because Zach doesn't want to live with Mindy. She says it's atypical. And I agree. Dr. Pepper asks Mindy how she feels. And Mindy says she sounds like a broken record. She doesn't feel she's getting the mirrored experience. She says she's in for the long haul, you know, and she's actually kind of worried that maybe her family and friends were right. That, you know, she shouldn't be doing this process. But she really wanted to be married because she has been waiting for this for quite some time.
You know what I think is sad?
What?
It's because she feels that way, like her family and friends were right. But I don't even think it's about them being right. I just think she was just matched with the bad apple.
Well, you know, again, it goes back to being matched. A lot of these couples, not just these couples who make the show, the couples are matched on pretty much paper. Their likes, their dislikes, things like that from A to Z. And the things that you see on paper, you have to be honest because you know that you're going to meet someone at first sight. So the things you put on paper, if they were true from the mind and the heart, and if you weren't correct with that the first time, then the person who is supposed to share your values, the looks should outweigh the value because at first sight, you know that the marriage and the counselors and the pastor are matching you based on the things that you said. Anyways, Dr. Pepper says that this is not an openly emotionally space, and Dr. Pepper also tells Zach that he hasn't given his all, and if he should be and want to be living with Mindy. Zach says he's aware that it's obvious that things have to improve. Dr. Pepper says it's not obvious, it's essential. I was like, exactly, it's essential.
Dr. Pepper was reading Zach for filth.
Dr. Pepper says she has never seen someone so detached from the actual person that they were matched up with. And Zach is just sitting there looking at her like, well, you know, trying to give all kind of excuses. And she's pretty much saying, you know, if you don't want to be here, don't be here. Do you want to be here? He's like, well, yeah, I do.
I feel like everyone sees that. And I feel like Zach knows that, but Zach is trying to put on the facade so people don't see it. But we see it. Everyone sees it. Even Mindy sees it. But she don't want to
give up.
Yeah. Just based off her family. Yeah. I feel like if she had her family support, I don't know if she would be in it like that. So for one of their exercises, we see them at a tantric class.
So Mindy and Zach speak with an instructor who explains what tantric is. It is a breathing exercise that improves intimacy with couples, and they will also be using the Yabi Yum position, which is to connect, and it exhibits the 7 main characteristics of chakra. I think I'm saying that. Chakra?
Chakras. You get your chakras in line. I feel like I need to take a class like that. Well, not that one in specific, because I'm not with nobody yet.
Okay, I can see you doing chakra. You got the chakra vibe to me. To start, Mindy starts sitting on Zach's lap, and they do an exercise where they're rolling around slowly in a circle.
I think this was my favorite part of the whole episode, because Zach's face killed me.
Zach was kind of like...
Zach was not here for it. And
he wasn't here for it.
The camera did the shady zoom. They show his face. Like, who are you fooling, Zach? You should have just said no go when Dr. Pepper gave you a way out.
You know what? Mindy really looked like she always does, like she's trying. And I am now starting to feel a little sorry for Mindy because she really, really, truly wants to connect with Zach. And he just simply... he just goes with the flow. It's not something he wants to do. I think he's just trying to maintain because of the show or whatever reason, but it's definitely not for Mindy. And I feel bad for her because she knows deep down this wasn't the right match for her.
So next we have Brandon and Taylor. And Brandon and Taylor, I'm still wondering, when did Brandon even get back in the house? But whatever. Dr. Pepper comes to meet up with them just to basically talk to them about everything that's been going on so far within the 3 weeks.
Dr. Pepper asks how they both are. Taylor says, Brandon can start. Brandon's like, no, I'm just here for an explanation. See, right there, they started off wrong, okay? So Taylor says she's confused and doesn't feel like she's done anything wrong because Brandon's moved out and says she doesn't know why. Mm-hmm. That part got me. I mean, you know why. He told you why.
Well, she did say that the video wasn't intended for him, but, you know, of course she changes her answer later on down in her scenes. But then she was also like, I don't even know how he saw it because him and his friends don't follow me. Well, girl, obviously your page is public.
Right.
And you over here went out, so he was just checking up on you like anybody does.
Right. He also said that he was hurt and upset because she made that video, the IG video, outside the apartment building while he was waiting for her to come back inside. Dr. Pepper says, you know, was there anything either of you have done in the past? Taylor brought up the only thing that she seems to bring up is the Panama trip. She said not only was he not just rude with me, he was rude with everybody in production. Mm-hmm. I believe we touched on production before, but that's true. Brandon was rude to production. He did apologize for that. And Brandon's saying, like, she just can't get over that. That was like 2 days into it. She's like, no, it wasn't 2 days. It was like 2 days with one thing. But the biggest thing was the production. So Taylor said that she's been patient with Brandon and just trying to hear him out. And, you know, but during the same time, she said she feels disrespected and everything like that by the things that Brandon says. But she wasn't specific about that. Now, if she only said just Panama, I'm just curious to know, was there other things that happened outside of Panama that maybe we didn't see?
Basically, what they're painting out to be is the Panama trip in the video.
Yeah.
I will give Brandon points because he did apologize.
Yeah.
Taylor has not apologized. Mm-hmm. And even when Dr. Pepper was like, you gonna apologize? She's like, no. But because she didn't feel like it was towards him. But it doesn't matter if she felt like it was towards him. Mm-hmm. It kind of was, because who else are you talking about? You're really talking about being single and you want someone who's 6'2" and this and that and saying and all that.
6'3", but hey.
6'2". Still someone tall.
Yeah.
But you over here on a whole married show, married to a man, whether you guys have a good connection or not, it's just disrespectful. And it kind of looked like she was reaching for attention. And attention she got.
I agree with that. And you know what? With her saying she wasn't sure if she was sorry that she did it, that right there goes to show that, you know what, Brandon, you may have a point there. She may be on this show or with you for alternative reasons. Because if you're not sure you're sorry, that means you meant to do it. Maybe it was premeditated. Mm-hmm. You know, whether you're upset or not. I mean, how many people, side note, in a relationship go outside or inside or whatever, just make an IG video talking about, I'm single, I'm this and that. When you're married, knowing you got to come back in the house and still deal with that person. So, I don't know. I think Brandon has a point on that. And Taylor, I think you should have apologized and have a real apology.
So Dr. Pepper asked him, like, how they're going to move on through this relationship. And Brandon was like, I'm done.
Yeah, I'm done. Got up, took the mic off. Mm-hmm. And again, I have to agree with Brandon. See, I go back and forth. You know, Brandon, yes or no. Taylor, yes or no. But this time, I'm giving it to Brandon because he was disrespected. Taylor flat out, I'm going to use Mika's word, she flat out lied and said it wasn't directed towards him. Mm-hmm. Yes, it was Taylor.
But I'm going to play devil's advocate. Because Taylor did touch on this later, and I'm going to talk about it again when she meets up with her friends. It did seem like Brandon was looking for that one incident that would justify him to find a way out. And this incident just so happened to be like one of the biggest incidents that you could do, like you said, besides cheating. And I feel like he found his way out and he took it and ran with it.
Well, that might be true, but Brandon didn't need a way out because whatever happened on the honeymoon in Panama, whether it was directed to her or production, the fact that he didn't move in at first when they first got back home to DC, that's not looking for a way out. You already had a way out. He chose to come back to be with Taylor to see what they can reconcile. So
maybe he was doing it for TV too.
Maybe.
But then again, he don't really like production. But then again, you still signed up to be on the show. So I don't know. Y'all tell us. So as I mentioned earlier, Taylor does go meet up with her friends. And the friends are talking about their Bali trip. And Taylor was like, I missed our whole Bali trip just to be married. Which kind of sounds like you did it to be on a show for clout. But we'll let you live for right now. So they're asking her, like, how's it going? And she lets them know how it went with Dr. Pepper and that, Brandon doesn't want to be in a relationship anymore. And then, once again, she also says, I felt like Brandon was just finding something to find a way out. Taylor's friends are just kind of taken aback by that. Mm-hmm. And her friend Tachi was like, are you still going to come to the barbecue? And she was like, yes, of course I'm coming to the barbecue. Mm-hmm. And then he want to be like, well, there's going to be some single guys there. And then the other friend was like, whoa, she's still married, trying to play it up for the show. Like, she not talking to nobody, which Brandon said that she was.
You know what? He did say that, but her friend, when he said that, I was like, you know what? That is starting to confirm some things in my mind. Like, maybe this was an ulterior motive somehow. There's some single guys there. Why would you want to rush her or put her out there like that, knowing she's still married? Mm-hmm. That's the part I don't get. Like, no, don't worry about him. You move on. There's some single guys at the barbecue. Come on, Tochi.
But, she's like, well, maybe I'll invite Brandon because we haven't been talking, just to talk some things out. So we'll see if he shows up.
So next, we see Brandon meet with his friend Anthony. And Brandon tells his friend that he's moved out and he's moved on. And his friend was like, what? Like, like he honestly didn't know. So Anthony was like, what happened? And Brandon tells him that, they had a meetup with Dr. Pepper. He's giving his version of what happened. And that how Taylor's IG video and how he just couldn't trust her and the things she was saying in that IG video. And his friend didn't know or came across like he didn't know. Brandon shows Anthony a text from Taylor and he holds up his phone. He's like, that's not a text. That's a paragraph. That's like a mini novel. I thought that was funny because
we all wrote a mini novel to someone before.
Well, I guess.
Well, maybe not in your times. Maybe you actually wrote a paper, not a text.
Oh, so you're shading me. Like I don't have a phone and I don't text. What I don't do as mom versus millennial is write a mini novel to somebody. I've grown past that. The point is, Brandon says that, why would she write all this to me in text? His friend was like, well, the point of going to mediation is to talk in mediation. And if you just left the room, what's the point of talking after? I agree with that.
Well, Brandon didn't really give her too much to speak about, even though she weren't really speaking about nothing. So, I guess. So, next we see Mika and Michael. Mika tells us that, she did have a good night with Michael the night before. They were all happy. But then all of a sudden, when production goes away, Michael was like, oh, you're not really opening up to me, and basically, like, shut down after that. So we see Mika and Micah at the table, and Mika tells Michael, like, hey, Katie invited us to a cooking class, do you want to go? He's just, like, looking at his phone, like, yeah. I mean, is he going to say no because cameras are there? No. Well, he could have, but he didn't. But then Mika was like, well, I don't understand why our communication is all of a sudden shutting down.
Yeah. And Michael's like, well, I told you so, like all agitated. He says he wants Mika to be more vulnerable, and Mika doesn't understand what that means. He says, Mika, to communicate better, your attitude needs to change. I was thinking, wow, her attitude needs to change?
You know who he talks to her like?
No, who?
Like she's one of his students.
That's true. I can see how that is. Michael says her being vulnerable is not enough. She needs to have more open communication and just be more open in general. Mika says she's trying to be vulnerable. And Michael's like, well, I don't see that. I'm not getting that from you because, it's come across as you're being defensive and just everything under the sun. And Mika's sitting there stunned, just like, who's he talking to?
Well, honestly, I feel like you gave more specifics than he did because Mika was like, well, could you be more specific on how you want me to be?
Yeah.
He gave a few, but then he was like, I don't even want to keep going because nothing's going to change because you don't want to change.
Right. Mika tells him that this marriage can't work when he or anyone else can have that type of attitude that he's given to her. And Michael says that he's been there for 3 weeks and has got to know what happened between the two of them and feels that their communication is lacking.
But I said lies because you was not chilling with her on the honeymoon. Barely.
Right.
Well, like a day and a half.
Mika says, well, Michael, why are you still telling lies after 3 weeks? And she goes, that's not you being vulnerable and open. I'm the one being vulnerable and open. So Michael gets mad, gets up, leaves, and slams the door. I was like, dang, he had to slam the door too? Mika can't understand how he can leave during that time. So it seemed like it was supposed to be a little while, but maybe after like 5 minutes or so, Michael comes back. He said, and a calm voice this time, he didn't leave because they were done. He left because he wanted space. She said all she wants is for the marriage to work and wants him to be open. You know, they keep going back open, vulnerable, open, vulnerable. But you know what? When two people aren't on the same page, it just feels like they don't seem to be. It just feels like anything you say, anything you do, even as small as how you breathe, is going to irritate the other person. Mm-hmm. That's just what I think. So Mika gets upset and says, you always walk out, and that's not fair to me. She said that she's over that. Michael says he understands that, and they agree during that conversation to try to keep the peace for the rest of the evening. The next day arrives, we see Mika at a restaurant waiting for Michael. Mika is saying to the camera right before he arrives that Michael invited her to a yoga class, and when she arrived there, and it's not funny though.
No, he invited her to a yoga class because he said he's a yoga teacher.
Right.
At that studio.
Right. Well, it turns out when she arrived there, she said the people looked at her like she was crazy. You know, I'm sorry, Mika. I just got to get a little chuckle of that because how's that you walk in somewhere and be like, hey, I'm looking for Michael. They're like, who? Right. You know, it's funny, but it's not funny. And she said she wants to know why. So when Michael comes, she asks, so what's up? What happened to the yoga? He was like, well, kind of like, I feel like you don't need to know the information. No. You invited me somewhere. How do I not get to know the information? If you say you're a yoga instructor and you invited me for a date so we could get more intimacy, closeness, and you don't work there or you're not working that night, don't you think you should have told me?
Well, that's not true. What was said was that Michael was going to let her know. But as soon as they got there and found out all the little details about him not teaching and the class not paid for, all the other stuff, was that she was like, well, this is a waste of time. So as soon as she said that is when he shut down. And then we found out that Mika was like, well, you said you were an instructor, but it turns out you're a cleaner at the studio. And then when I was trying to talk to you, you weren't trying to talk to me because you shut down at the studio. She was like, so I had to turn to Taylor. And his face was disgusted. I guess he don't like Taylor, period.
I don't think it's not that he just don't like Taylor, which I think underlying he don't like Taylor. He's on Team Brandon. But he was just like, ugh. Like, he don't like the fact that she talks to anyone telling any business. But you know what? It almost comes across like he doesn't like her to talk to anyone on the outside, regardless if it's positive or negative about the things that they're going on in their relationship. That's what I get from that.
Basically, Mika was like, I'm tired of all the lies. You lie too much. Like, why you always lying? Why you always lying? Oh my God. Stop lying. Can't say that part.
Remix.
That's not a remix. That's a real song.
Oh.
Anyways, we had a real millennial mom moment. And Michael was basically like, well, I'm tired of you. I felt that. He meant that from his core.
So the next day, we see Dr. Pepper visit Mika and Michael. And she wants to know what is stopping them from being committed with each other and, again, gaining intimacy with each other. Mika says that she doesn't feel, it's like a broken record, right? She doesn't feel Michael's being vulnerable and open. Michael goes on to say, it's hard for him to do that because, she's still a stranger. And then with him being adopted, it's hard to let people in and for him to feel trust and secure within relationships, whether it be friendships or even this marriage. Dr. Pepper asked Michael about the yoga studio, and you know what? He admitted that it was a lie. Michael?
Well, he said it was a lie, but he does teach once a month and he subs and they have a new owner.
Right.
But you couldn't go on the day that you taught?
Exactly. And Knock it off.
That took me out. Sorry.
But you know what? Again, if you knew you weren't teaching or there was a discrepancy in the schedule or whatever the case may be, still call your wife so she knows not to come. Maybe y'all could have met up and did something else.
But then we also found out, Michael did reveal that, he does lie.
Yes.
Or Dr. Pepper said it really nicely, story tell about some things because, he's afraid of getting hurt by people.
Yeah.
But you know what? Lies hurt people too. You know what's crazy? It's like this whole time when Mika be busting him out on the lies, he be making her feel crazy. Like, I didn't say it like that.
Exactly.
It's not like that. Then what was it? A storytelling? Okay. We'll go with that.
What, a story hour featuring Michael? So Dr. Pepper wants them both to take responsibility for things that may get each other upset. Things that, push their buttons and things like that. They agree to step back and see what causes triggers to each other, and they go on to express different things. Mika says she's committed to this and a true marriage, and she wants things to grow. She feels that eventually they can work things out and work on it together. Mika says she wants Michael to give her time to get there, and she will work on her vulnerability. I thought that was nice.
It was, because she actually seemed really sincere.
She did. Not all pent up. Because normally when you see Mika, you can tell that something is bothering her deep down. And anything that's being said, maybe she doesn't feel like she could be open to Michael. Michael says he is beginning to learn that he is being not comfortable in the marriage, but he's trying to get comfortable. He says that he knows he withdraws a lot and he needs to do better. He says he wants to feel safe in his marriage with Mika, and he's working on that and his commitment, and will work and try to do that to the best of his abilities.
What I will say about Michael is that I appreciate him for knowing his wrongs and where he needs to work at. He's really good at that. But what he needs to be better at is actually executing. You need to walk the walk and talk the talk.
Later that night, Mika and Michael's task is to do the blind trust activity. So Michael puts on a blindfold and Mika asks questions. And one of the first questions she asked was about Michael's job. Like, what do you do for a job?
Exactly. Like, give me the title, where you work at, like something.
Then Mika asks, so when you left and said you were done with this marriage, did you really mean that? He said, no, I didn't mean it. I was just using that out of anger. I expressed words out of anger. So I really do want to try. I don't know. He seems like he might be angry most of the time. So him trying is him opening up. I think Michael feels he's opening up, but not really. He's opening up to the surface, but not all the way, because he has trust issues that he needs to work through. So then it turns out, after all the questions that Mika asked him, that Michael said he's starting to understand why Mika feels the way that she feels.
Hallelujah. I hope he's being truthful.
Next, we see Michael asking Mika questions, and he asked her, so what is the one thing on your bucket list that you haven't done yet? And Mika says she wants to go swimming with dolphins in 10 different countries. He was like, She's like, yeah, but I think I've did it already. I've probably did 4 or 5. Michael's like, cool. And then under his breath, he's like, that's not reasonable. I'm thinking, is this your bucket list? Or did you ask her what was on her bucket list? If she wants to go swim with dolphins in 10 different countries, why you have to say things under your breath, Michael?
Because he just can't help it. He's trying.
Michael then asked Mika, if your family's opinion of me changed, would you stay in this relationship? Mika said, well, other people, family, friends, or whoever, don't dictate her decisions. Michael also asked, could you fall in love with me? Mika says, yeah, maybe. With time and patience, it could work out. Again, Michael's like, cool. You know what? I think Michael wants things now. Mm-hmm. I think if Mika would have said, I think I love you now.
You think he would have opened up more? At least tried to?
I think he would have tried to, because I do feel Michael is looking for love. Mm-hmm. That's what he really wants. I can tell that. That's what he really wants, is love. But I also feel that Michael feels that he is not compatible with Mika. And you said that fast. And he just doesn't know. He just trying to gauge where she's at with that. But I think if she said yeah, she was in love, he may have tried just a little bit harder.
So that was the end of Married at First Sight Season 10, Episode 10. Mom, what you feel about this episode?
Well, I'm not surprised about the couple who already have the drama, the Brandon and Taylor, the Mika and Michael. But who I'm concerned with is Mindy and Zach. I think Zach has really checked out and Mindy is in for a great surprise.
Yeah, I definitely felt like this episode was the Brandon, Taylor, Michael, and Mika show. So I'm really interested to see the other couples, which it looks like we're going to get to. So let us know what you think in the comments. Thank you for watching our video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.
Until next time, live simply, be grateful.